Hey everyone, welcome back to HD Reddit Reads. Today's topic is, waiters, what Valentine's Day disasters have you witnessed? Let's get into it. I work at a pretty high Mediterranean bistro. My second Valentine's Day there, it was probably the busiest night I've ever worked as a server. We had reservations that booked basically the entire restaurant, including the bar and the patio from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. No walk-ins were to be seated unless a reservation was canceled, or someone with a reservation didn't show up. Most of the customers were pretty understanding and either waited or simply left. One dude, however, kept pushing and pushing, asking every 10 minutes how much longer until he is seated, constantly saying how he is a regular customer and how his date is going to be there at 7. He got there at 6. We insisted that once a table was available and all the customers before him were seated, he would get a table. But because the amount of reservations, we couldn't guarantee that he would get a seat at the table at all. At about 6:50, the guy loses it. Fast walks up to the hostess stand where the reservation book is, grabs the reservation book, and practically runs out of the front door. Now everything is going to complete shit because the only copy of the reservations for that night that is barely half over is gone. Two of the owners ran outside to follow the guy and tried to get the book back, but by the time they got out there, he had already left the parking lot. Even better is, 2 hours later, chaos is still running rampant and the guy shows back up saying he has a reservation for 2. All 5 of the owners, all brothers, escorted the dude and his date out to the parking lot and banned him from the restaurant permanently. They even took a picture of him and posted it on the window saying, "Do not serve this man." TLDR, salty dude without reservation steals reservation book, then tries to come back later. Not a waiter, but I was a pastry chef at this big resort in Cape Cod. We got a special order from this guy who was coming in for his anniversary, Valentine's Day. He wanted the dessert to have "Will you marry me" written on it so he could pop the question when it came out. He called ahead to the front and back kitchen, even came in himself that morning to make sure it was good to go. The whole crew was behind him. We had cooks all night coming in to ask if it had happened yet. I wrote the inscription on the plate and dressed it in nines and gold leaf and expensive chocolate. I'm taking a picture of the plate just before it's set to go out and notice our head waiter come in with a weird look on his face. He says plainly, they don't need it. She broke up with him before the entrees hit the table. Old man proposed to old woman. He tried to get off the chair to kneel, tripped and fell, and I assume broke something since he couldn't get back up and we had to call an ambulance. My manager had to drive her teeth to the hospital separately because she had taken them out to eat her soup, Lord knows why, and left them on the table in the confusion. 16 years in hospitality gives you some stories. The most awkward. My first job as a waitress, a guy wanted to propose to his girlfriend. He came in 2 months before to book and had everything figured out. He planned to pop the question during dessert. We had champagne, balloons, and sparklers prepped for the big moment. The time comes, he drops to one knee, gives a speech about his love for her. He asks her, she says no, puts the ring in her bag, finishes her dessert, and leaves. Quite possibly the most awkward thing I had to witness, alongside around 200 people. The manager gave him everything for free, he felt that bad for him. Cringe inside every time I saw him after that. The most effed up. I was working as a duty manager and one of the tills kept dropping off the network. As I was trying to fix it, I could clearly hear the conversation of the table by the waitress's station. It started out sweet enough with her excitedly telling him she was pregnant. He went quiet and didn't say anything for a bit, then asked her what her plan was. She said she was keeping the baby. He said he didn't want kids and had told her this. She got upset and said she thought he'd be happy and changed his mind when he found out. By this point, I fixed the till, but I am able to step away from this car crash. Turns out, she stopped taking the pill without telling him, thinking she could turn him around. He said he knew she could be a little nuts sometimes, but this was next level. He told her it was over, and she could send someone to collect her things, as he wanted nothing to do with her. He called me over to pay the bill and just left. The guy never even shouted, he just calmly went, "F this," and noped out of there. I couldn't even look her in the eyes, just left her to leave in her own time. The funniest. Managing hotel room service, there was this Valentine's package that included getting each course of the special menu delivered to your room. More than a few couples thought it was a good idea to call for the next course and then start having sex. Having to help with deliveries as reception effed up the bookings, I had the privilege of people answering the door naked, seeing sex toys strewn around, and one where the other members of the threesome were carrying on in the background. After complaints of similar instances from my team, I had to take action. I ended up having to call the offending guests to tell them if they cannot respect my team by answering the door in at least a closed dressing gown, they can come down and collect the rest of the meal from the restaurant. Bonus from the same night, I had to call an ambulance for a woman with a dislocated shoulder. The guy admitted that he was trying to recreate a bukkake type scene in the shower using conditioner as the cum, slipped in the conditioner and fell on her. A couple sitting at the bar were enjoying their night out. The man got up from the bar stool and left for the bathroom. As his girlfriend was alone and absolutely wasted at the bar, a random woman approached and revealed that she recently matched with the woman's boyfriend on Tinder and had hooked up with him a week earlier. His drunk girlfriend refused to believe the story, so the woman showed her his Tinder profile and their conversation. The boyfriend returned to a drunk, sobbing and screaming girlfriend. I felt like I was watching a reality TV show. It was incredible. The poor girl was basically carried out of the bar by her boyfriend of 3 years, whom she just discovered had been cheating on her for who knows how long. It was the most dramatic moment I've ever experienced, and it was absolutely none of my business. Edit. I was a bar back at the time, and the couple sat directly in front of the place I spend the most time of my day, the glass washing station. Edit 2. For those wondering how the woman knew the couple was in a long-term relationship, I really don't know. My guess is she figured it out the same way I did, based on listening, body language, and the fact that the woman was overly touchy and liberal with kisses and such. It was fairly obvious. Regardless, she approached out of the concern and curiosity, and she succeeded in outing the guy, which resulted in a very upsetting scene. Back when I served at one of those super touristy seafood restaurants, I worked a Valentine's Day double shift. For lunch, this younger couple came in celebrating their 1-year anniversary. I offered my congratulations and proceeded to do my usual spiel before taking orders. The girl is looking more and more dismayed the longer I talk. I finally get to the end and I ask if there are any allergies. She looks directly at her boyfriend and states, "Yes, I'm allergic to fish and shellfish." Then looks over at me very sad. I made sure every aspect of her meal was fine for her, but it was that look of, we've been dating for a year and he still takes me to a restaurant that could kill me, that really did it for me. That reminds me of when my parents got a huge strawberry-filled cake with strawberries on it for my 25th birthday. I'm deathly allergic to strawberries. I was working for a higher-end chain steakhouse in the northwest corner of Greater Los Angeles, in the Valley. Valentine's is obviously one of the top 5 busiest days of the year for us. We did about 500 covers between 5 and 10 p.m. It's also a restaurant with a very open concept floor plan. Booths along the 4 walls of the restaurant and an array of tables in the middle with no partitions or anything between them. A younger couple, maybe mid-20s, dressed in the 9s, came in shortly after we opened and were seated at a table basically in the dead center of the dining room. They were very friendly and pleasant, and I could tell that for them, dining at our restaurant was a really special treat, so I did everything in my power to make it special for them. When they're done, probably around 7, I brought their check, which was around $300. When I came to pick it up, the guy had a super embarrassed look on his face and said he thinks he left his wallet in his car, and the woman, who was embarrassed for him, doesn't have anything with her because her dress has no pockets and she didn't bring her purse. So he goes out and 5 minutes later comes back in looking pale as a ghost. He left his wallet at home and asks if he can call back later with payment info. My GM won't let this fly because there's no collateral of any sort so he can leave. So the guy has to drive home to Burbank to get his wallet while the woman waits, with her hair done and her red lipstick and her pretty dress, in the middle of a dining room on Valentine's Day. Now, on the best day with no traffic, never happens, it's at least 40 minutes each way from my restaurant to Burbank. She was there for almost 2 hours waiting for this guy. We were all so embarrassed for her that the staff kept discreetly slipping her drinks and little amuse-bouche bites from the kitchen. It was one of the most awkward things I've ever seen in a restaurant. When he finally got back, he was super apologetic to us and her. He paid the check and tipped like 30% and they left. It was pretty obvious it was an honest mistake, but I still think about the couple from time to time and wonder how things worked out for them. Thank you for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing. It'll be greatly appreciated. And if you want to visit the original thread, I'll link it in the description. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one.